Well, hello there. My name is Doug Meadows, and I'm the founder, visionary, and hero maker here at David Douglas Diamonds. And this is another week's episode. We're actually on week 7 of A Century of Luxury and Legacy, as we travel through and explore the history of our company and just different things were going on in the world. I don't know, a little warning up front. This is a little bit of a longer one than I've ever done. I just have so much I want to share in this episode, and I've tried to shorten it up, and I just don't know how. But let me just get started here. So, last week I looked at the 30s, the 1930s, and the different things going on, the Depression, and different things like that. And as I began to tip my toes into the 40s and try to see, what brought us out of the Depression and in World War II, different things like that, one of the things that just really struck me, and it kind of took me down that rabbit hole, and it was about platinum. Platinum was classified as a strategic metal, and jewelers were restricted from using it. And it was, somewhat popular back then. As I explore the platinum, I wanted to give you just a little bit of education about platinum so that you understand it a little bit better. Platinum is part of a family of metals. There's 6 of them in that group. It's just a really nice white metal. So we have, in this group, we have platinum, we have palladium, we have rhodium, ruthenium, iridium, and osmium. I don't know, O-S-I-U-M. Not sure how to pronounce that, but and I've never heard of that particular one. I've heard of all the others except for osmium. But, when I was just starting out as a jeweler, I don't know, I just had this fascination with platinum. It was, back then it was a whole lot more expensive than gold. It's kind of flip-flopped over the years, but it just had a different value to me. And I was intrigued by its working properties and wanted to learn more about how to work with it, how to use it. And so GIA was coming to town. I was probably 19 years old, and GIA is actually the Gemological Institute of America. Actually, they weren't coming to town. They were coming to the next state close to me. I was living in Michigan at the time. They were coming to a town in Ohio to do a class on, bench skills or bench basics of platinum. And so I talked my then boss into sponsoring me to go to this. He was willing to pay for the actual class, but it was up to me to get there and to take care of anything else that I might need. I enrolled in it. It was one of those things where I had to leave. I had to work the day before, so I think I got off work at like 9 o'clock. I drove until, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning to get there. Slept in my car, found a rest area, and freshened up in the morning, and then went to class the next day. And then after the class, drove on back home because I just didn't have the money for a hotel room. But it really got me excited about working in platinum. My first engagement ring that I made my wife, it had to have a platinum prongs on it, or we call it a head. Some people call it a crown. Some people call it a setting. The base of the ring, the shank, I made out of 18-karat yellow gold, and then I did that platinum head and set my wife's first diamond, which was a 1/3 of a carat, and it was a lot of money for me back then. But got a chance to finally propose and get married. But, over the years, I've updated her jewelry, changed her diamond shape, her diamond size, and, I've I've always been very sentimental about the stones that I have used, and she still has each one of those stones, but her current ring is all platinum, and I made it about 11 years ago or so, and I love it. And you know, my dad, he had a platinum ring. Well, actually, he didn't have it. The company owned it, between him and his brother. And it had like a 3-carat round diamond in the middle, and it was just a simple platinum setting. And I just always loved putting that on my finger when I was a little kid. And so kind of fast forwarding, my dad and uncle, my dad left the business to move down here to Georgia, and my uncle ended up, as part of the breakup deal, got that ring, which my uncle has passed away since, and now my cousin has that. But I love that ring so much that I had to make it for myself, and so I made it here for my pinky, and emulated the design and styling of it, and did it in platinum. And so, I don't know, it just, platinum is very special to me. But, you know, as the, you know, jewelers were just faced with some challenges during the 40s, or, well, the 30s, the 40s. They had their heyday in the 20s, but now the 30s with the Depression, and now the 40s with, you know, different metals that they can't use. So they were going through a lot of adversities and changes, and they had to be open and to make change. And I can just only imagine what my grandfather was going through. You know, back when he first started, he was a diamond setter and a manufacturer. And I can only imagine that as the trends changed and opportunities changed, that he made a switch over to being what we call a trade shop. And a trade shop is basically wholesale repair work in the jewelry industry. So a lot of retail jewelers, they didn't have a jeweler on staff. They would have to send it to somebody like my grandfather to set the diamonds, size the rings, solder the chains, and then send them on back to them. And you know, my dad always shared with me, when times are tough, repair is plentiful. You know, instead of people buying something new, they either wanted to repurpose or fix what they had. And so, you know, a lot of that stuff was kind of going on. But the other thing that it brought to me was the question of, you know, why platinum? Why did the government need platinum? Why did they put these restrictions on platinum? And so I had no clue all the different uses of platinum and all the different industries that used it. You know, from chemical and petroleum refining, platinum is an exceptional catalyst. It also was used for making high-octane aviation fuel. Nitric acid is used for that, for essentials for explosives, synthetic rubber, chemical processing for munitions. And but the other area that it was good in is electrical and precision components. So it had an extremely high melting point, corrosion resistant, stable under extreme heat, excellent electrical contact material. But the one that was interesting to me is they used it for spark plugs for the airplanes. And man, I don't know, it's been probably, time gets away from me, probably 30, 40 years ago, I heard of a jeweler that bought a surplus of World War II spark plugs because he knew that that little tip on the end was platinum, and got it all refined. And I mean, he made a ton of money off that little tiny investment. And so that was just really interesting to me. It was also used in the medical and scientific equipment. But, you know, so it leads me into today, you know, how jewelry is made, or what makes up platinum. But because the other rival to platinum was palladium and white gold. And, you know, so, you know, white gold we still have today. It has its, just like anything, styles and trends, makes it popular. And, you know, for many years, white gold was the standard. And basically white gold, we start out with pure 24 karat rich yellow gold, and then we try to add stuff to it. So we add nickel and silver and zinc to it to try to make it look white. It's always got a little bit of a yellow tinge, and so we use one of those noble metals within that platinum family called rhodium to put a coating on there to make it look nice and white and bright. It's kind of like a good wax job on a car. It's going to wear off over a period of time. Usually will last a good year based on your wearing habits. Some white golds have a little bit more of a yellow tinge than others based on whatever their formula was to use it. Because when you're dealing with, for example, 14 karat, 58% of that is pure 24 karat yellow gold, and then the other 42% is going to consist of all these different alloys. And it's like a chef, building all these different things. So not all 14 karat white gold is the same. Not all 18 karat white gold is the same. And, and so palladium was a very affordable metal, and it was its rival. And, it had very similar characteristics to platinum. So you saw different seasons of palladium, and I'll get into that into a minute. But I wanted to talk a little bit, actually, I do want to talk about palladium a little bit more. Our first wave of palladium popularity was in the 1900s to the 1930s. It was there, and they worked with it. The second wave came in the 40s only because they stopped allowing platinum to be used. And then our third wave was just recently from 2008 to 2014. As a jeweler, I am not a fan of palladium. When they promoted it back in 2008 to 14, they looked at the cost of it was much more affordable. It's a lot lighter than platinum. Platinum is a heavy, dense metal, and it's heavier than gold. Palladium is a little bit lighter, and and they promoted the characteristics of the ease of stone setting and different things. Where I don't like it is it oxidizes extremely quickly, so it's very hard to cast. We can't cast it here. Even platinum is very hard to cast, just because of the high heat that it takes to make all that. But to try to typically size a palladium ring with the traditional way of using a torch, it oxidizes so quickly. It's brittle where you weld it, and it shows. There's no good way. There's no winning way to work with it. Now, the one way that I do like it is when they use that as an alloy with white to make white gold. Here in the States, we allow nickel in our gold. There's a lot of women out there that are allergic to nickel and have a nickel reaction to when they're wearing white gold. I mean, their fingers break out, they get blisters. I mean, it's really bad stuff. Over in Europe, it's illegal to use nickel in your white gold, and so they use palladium. It is available to us here in the U.S. For whatever reason, it's probably a cost issue. I didn't really research that part of it, of why we tend to stick with nickel, but we do. But a 14 karat white gold palladium alloy is very nice, and that's when, to me, palladium is acceptable, and I love to work with it. But platinum is, we don't use it in its pure state. We typically are going to alloy it with either ruthenium or iridium, and occasionally cobalt. And I like the ruthenium or iridium because we're sticking with the platinum family. Some of the manufacturers like the cobalt just because it's a lot stronger than those other alloys. But it just, I don't know. I like the ruthenium, probably is my more favorite one, because it's kind of that good balance between good strength and different things. So, but anyways, let me move on. The other thing I wanted to talk about is how jewelry is made, because during this time, die striking, came about in the early 1900s or late 1800s and early 1900s, to where they would just take sheets of metal and just punch it out with these huge presses, steam-operated presses and different things, and metal dies. And what that does for us is it compacts all the material really tight and makes it a lot more durable than a casted product. So we can either hand fabricate a piece of jewelry to where we take components, whether it's wire or sheet or stock, and bend it and make things with it. We can cast it to where we take a wax. We can actually carve up a wax impression of something. Really, anything that can burn out or burn up and turn to clean carbon, we can cast. My dad, growing up, I mean, he would look for unusual things that he could cast. It could be plastic, it could be cornflakes, it could be little tiny pine cones. I mean, just all kinds of unusual things that my dad would set up and cast. And one time he made an acorn, and he made the top out of gold and the bottom out of silver, and he put a little worm coming out of it. And I don't know, it was just crazy what he would cast up. But today, we still do wax carving, but probably more prevalent with the advent of CAD/CAM and technology and CAD designing and CNC type stuff. We do a lot in 3D printing. So it's more of a resin-based as opposed to a wax-based. Although there are printers that will print actually wax, probably the most prevalent is the resin printers. And that has really allowed a lot of different changes and things. So die striking was just really prevalent. It still is prevalent today. It's probably not as much today as it was back then. You can get so much detail out of a die-struck piece, and it's just so crisp and bright. And I don't know, I really appreciate the intricacy that they can get and the different things that can come from that. But back then it was just considered a premium way of making a piece of jewelry, and there was just multiple ways to do it. I mean, a lot of times they would, for an old filigree ring, they would die strike each half and then put it together and then hand engrave it and do some of that kind of stuff to it. But it just creates a much more superior product. But it has become probably a more limited way and more expensive way, because metal dies have to be created for each model. And whereas in CAD, you're just dealing with a digital file that you can manipulate so well and so quickly and accommodate things. But today there's a few die strike companies still out there. White House Brothers was founded in 1898. They're up in Cincinnati, Ohio. Had the opportunity to go visit their factory because we carry their line of jewelry here. It's a beautiful handmade stuff. They die strike the halves, put it all together, and then their hand engravers go back and hand engrave the whole piece. And they're definitely those types of styles from the 20s, and they're just beautiful. And then J-Bell was founded in 1916. We also deal with them, and they make a lot of really cool components. Sometimes they'll die strike just certain components or parts, like the prongs or the heads, or the shanks, different things like that. And But they, two of these companies that we deal with that are still around today, still using some of the original techniques and styles, they've modernized it to a certain extent to help with the affordability of it. But within our own store, we do a lot of hand fabrication. So Abby came to us many years ago as a student in art college or jewelry college or whatever you want to call it. And she just loves hand fabricating sterling silver jewelry. And she does an amazing job. She's got a unique look and feel to it. And it appeals to a lot of people. She uses very affordable stones. So what she creates is a very affordable, one-of-a-kind piece. She'll remake the same kind of an idea, but because everything's handmade, each piece is unique. She also does special orders or custom requests with people. She's made a lot of really cool things over the years and very innovative with style and techniques and textures and different things like that. And she has really blossomed over the years. She actually married my nephew, so she's now my niece. And so a little bit more of a tie there. But the other jeweler that we have is Haley. Haley came to me when she was going to school and said, that she was getting ready to graduate and, kind of looking for a job. And so we had a long discussion and different things, and I just couldn't offer her as much as Tom Shane was offering her. And so, as most of us would do, we go for the money. And she gave that a shot. And after about a month or two, she came back to me and said, "Can we talk again?" And so we talked some more and brought her on. She's an amazing artist, sketch artist. She can draw like nobody's business. And she's also transitioned over to the iPad. And the sketches and ideas that she comes up with are just incredible. We worked together to create an American-made line of jewelry and then a hand-engraved line of jewelry that is just phenomenal. But, Haley, when it comes to jewelers, Haley is an exceptional jeweler. Her hand engraving skills are incredible. There's a school in middle of America called GRS, and they have classes on hand engraving. Their top class is called the Grand Masters, and so you have to apply to it and then be accepted or chosen based on your skills. You have to prove you are worthy to attend this class. They bring in renowned instructors from around the world to teach these. Generally the instructor is not repeated. They bring in a fresh instructor every year that has different techniques and styles and different things. And so Haley has been honored to be chosen in the last two sessions that they've offered. And the first one, I believe she was the only woman in the class. The second one, there was maybe 2 or 3 more women in the class. And so, but her stone setting skills, her pave work, her fabrication work, it just amazes me what she can do. And so I'm just really proud and honored to have this type of staff developed here. When it comes into CAD/CAM designing, my son Joseph does all of that, and he started when he was 13 and learning how to do this. I showed him this software, and I said, "Hey, you want to learn this stuff?" He goes, "Sure." To him it looked like a video game, and so I had to take him up to Iowa to go to class and learn how to use this software. And it was an interesting learning curve for both of us to discover all this stuff. He's now 35, 36, something like that. And, you know, he's won several awards for some of his designs. When he was 18, he won a rendering design contest, nationwide rendering design contest. He is really proud of his rendering skills, and he should be, because they're just amazing. He can make things look so realistic and real life and stuff. But you know, I don't know, just here at David Douglas, we have been able to really assemble some skills and techniques and offerings that very few jewelry stores have to offer out there. And I just, like I say, I'm just so blessed and honored to have built a staff. I mean, God just seems to bring me all the right people at the right times, and I'm just so thankful and appreciative of that. But you know, next week I'll be on the road. Me and my daughter are going out to Arizona, and again, and we will be on Route 66. And so I hope to bring you my video from Route 60, somewhere out there on Route 66, and share whatever we discover next. So until next week, we'll see you then. Thanks. Bye.